Hi, everybody. DJ Yoakley with you for another Coach's Corner. This time it's with first-timer Sarah Hamilton, the head basketball coach of the Salem Lady Quakers. And today's Coach's Corner is brought to you by the Moore Agency, protecting what matters most. You can head to mooreagency.com for all of your auto owner's insurance needs. That is the Moore Agency. Again, mooreagency.com. Sarah Hamilton, a long time coming. So excited to sit down with you and talk about Quaker basketball, being that you're 7-2. It's such a dream season so far. You've already got a few wins under your belt that you've wanted to have, checking off the box. But the one thing that we do have to talk about is this is the third time through COVID protocol in your first season. Talk about the challenges that have presented itself through this COVID-19 situation.
Yes, right now me and the entire team are quarantined for our third time. So it's just presented a lot of challenges. You know, coming back off of quarantine, it's always tough to get our legs under us. And I forget what player used to say it, but take a day off of practice and I notice. Take 2 off, my coaches notice. Take 3 off, the fans notice. And no one really kind of added what 14, what 10 days looks like. So you definitely can tell when we come off of quarantine, but we're just hoping to come off of it like the Browns came off the win. So that's kind of where we're going with right now.
That's a dagger right to my heart right there. Dagger right to the heart. All right, so let's talk about, this has been a dream situation for you, but what people might not know about Sarah is that you were in the midst of building a great program over on the other side with the volleyball program. You were the head coach there. There was some inner struggles to walking away from one into another, but this is a dream situation for you. What kind of struggles were there internally for you? What kind of conversations did you have to have in order to walk away from a program that you were doing a really good job building to a dream situation as the Lady Quakers head coach in hoops?
Well, it was tough because you build relationships with the kids, and it's not necessarily about the wins and the losses. It's about building relationships. And I was walking away from 22 relationships. And I hope they know that it wasn't a personal decision against them. But, there was some things I was struggling with as far as my personal life goes, getting my admin degree, conflicting seasons with some special people in my life. So it was a decision that I really had to weigh on. And I felt like the time was right. I felt like I could make the transition, and I knew there are a lot of tools in the basketball program to be successful. They just needed to be utilized. So it just felt right. A lot of praying, a lot of, thinking about where my road and where my journey leads. But ultimately, I left the hands in my former players. Casey Costle took over for me. So I knew the program would be in great hands, and she's done a terrific job there. So I could not be more proud of her. And so it was just the right move, and it felt good. It felt right.
Well, what's nice was you didn't step away completely. We heard you on YSN doing some analysis of volleyball, which you still got it. You still got it. You still got a career there in the broadcast analyst. So welcome.
Well, I don't know about all that, but Bailey roped me into doing that. But it was fun, and it's fun, and it's tough to watch the girls, but it's also enjoyable to see Casey really coming out of her shell and coaching them up and doing just a phenomenal job.
All right, Sarah. So here's the situation. You obviously played for Salem. I don't want to say back in the day because it wasn't that long ago that we were back in high school.
Back in the day.
But the motto for this year's team is back to your roots, and you really feel like there's a lot of similarities to this year's team that there was to those prominent teams back in the day. Talk to me about what you see on the floor for your girls from the coaching standpoint, and how you felt as a player, and the similarities between the two.
Well, it's funny how back in the roots originated. Reading just like stories and motivational things. And I came across them talking about the redwoods, and the redwoods are the tallest tree. And you would think that they would have some of the deepest roots, but it turns out that their roots are incredibly shallow. And what they do to survive is they intertwine their roots with other redwoods. And so they use each other as support to survive. And then long after the redwoods die, they end up, still giving life and still holding on to the others. And so I just thought that was so representative of what we have, because we have so much talent, and we need to learn that we have these roles that we need to accept. We need to make sure it's a team first mentality, and we really need to be supporting each other. So it went along with that. And then obviously I've got the privilege to grow up in such a great program. When we went to state, I think, my junior year, we lost our first game of the season, and then my senior year, our last game. And that was all the losses we had that season. But it was because we had a team first mentality, and we had great coaches, and Steve Stewart and Roger Ziegler, who really were inspiring and helped shape who I am today. And so I think that we need to bring it back to that nitty gritty defense first, team first mentality that has really brought the program such success in the past.
I've been so impressed with not only what you've done with the program, but also the team bonding that I see on social media that you're so proud of. And really, from an outsider standpoint, one has really led to the other. So talk to me about how important it was right away for you to start team bonding and team dinners and things of that nature to make sure these girls were lockstep with each other on this journey.
That's the biggest thing in my mind, is being able to trust each other, not only off the court, but on the court. And so I know that building these relationships with these girls and them building it with each other builds that trust that is needed, and that chemistry that's needed on the court. And again, you kind of fall back to what's worked for you in the past. And growing up, I remember getting in the car and going to wing night with the team and things of that nature. And it just really built us to an entirely different level, where you're not only teammates, but you're friends, and you become more family. And I think that's what we really look to have, is that kind of Quaker family among us. And we don't care who gets the credit. And, the success of one is the success of the entire family. So that's really kind of what we look for here at Salem.
What's really interesting is some Salem coaches go their entire tenure without beating the team in green. And here in your first year, you got the first victory in, I believe, 10 years in the in their house, the first time through. So talk to me about the importance of West Branch Salem and why that game really is always the biggest game of the year.
They've always been well coached. They've always been extremely disciplined, defensively, offensively. They've got a solid foundation. And I think that in previous years, and we've talked about this with the team, it's been, what is West Branch going to do? What are they going to do? How do we need to counter that? And this year, I decided to take a different approach and focus on us. What do we need to do? What are we going to do? And it wasn't about them, it became about us. And I think the minute that we shifted the focus from them to us is when we realized that we're our biggest opponent each and every night. It doesn't matter what jersey the other team is wearing. And if we show up and we do our job and then they do their role, then everything else kind of takes care of that.
I love that. That's a great answer. Let's talk about it. We already kind of discussed the challenges of COVID. This being your third time through it, is it difficult to restart the engine, or are the girls maybe overzealous when they get back on the court and try to do too much? How do you control that from a coach's perspective and just say one step at a time, let's get back to rhythm?
Well, it's tough when you have more games canceled than you've actually played. So we're there right now, and usually you enter this time in January, and there's some burnout going on, and you cut practices to maybe an hour and a half. But we don't have any of that, because we're hungry. We want to get on the court. So they always come back hungry. They know they're capable of special things this season, and they keep after it. So when we get them back into the gym, they're happy to be there. And they know, if you come into our practices there's a lot of love, there's a lot of energy, because we know at any second it could be taken away. So while it has impacted us negatively by being away, it's also given us that energy and that spark during the time that we're together to really focus on, the task at hand.
We're here with Sarah Hamilton for the Salem Coaches Corner, brought to you by the Moore Agency. A couple more questions for you, Coach. Number one, it's got to be really cool for you to be part of the program growing up and be in the trophy cases and everything out front, and now be leading the charge for this year's Quakers. What is the biggest thing that you love about that, being on both sides of it now? And what is the biggest challenge for you to try to recreate the past?
Well, I think for me, basketball has really shaped who I am. It teaches you not only how to be successful on the court, but in life as well. And I think that I've been so blessed to be given such great coaches, great teammates throughout the years. And there's nothing like stepping on your court that you grew up with, knowing how much time and energy and how much love you put into the game, and then giving that to the kids. And it's funny because I remember my coaches used to always say, no one's going to want it more, than the coaches. You guys just want to play and have fun. And it just brings it about to like a different meaning, because it becomes something different when you're a part of that program and when you lead that program. And Salem has just the biggest place in my heart because of who I am, and the fondest memories. And I think it was about probably 2 years ago when we brought the state team back. And, it's almost like you pick up where you left off, and the memories, and just you look back at it with such love. And that's what I want to instill into these players, the love that we have for the Salem, the love that we have for the game, and most importantly, the love that we have for each other.
I remember that moment very, very well from above at the broadcast position. That was a cool moment for everybody in attendance. All right, final question. We're going to get off the court a little bit, but we're going to get to know you as a coach. What is some of the best advice that a coach has ever provided to you, or coaches have ever provided to you, and has led you kind of to where you are today?
I think that being such a competitive person, it's hard not to put the wins and everything first, but it comes down to kids first. And I believe it was Tressel who said, treat every kid like they're hurt. So if you have someone come into practice late, why are you late? What's going on? Is everything okay? And I think that's the biggest thing that you can do to these athletes, is extend that. What's going on in your life? How are you doing? Because a lot of them use basketball and use each other as an outlet, to have something special in their life. And I think that, when you start off as a young coach, you want to go in and you want to lay the law, and you want to be like this example of, you're never late, you're never this, you're never that. But I think that when you learn that you treat every kid like there's something going on, and each and every year we do this hero highlight hardship, and we haven't done it for basketball yet, but we will. But we did it for volleyball, and you really get to know these kids in their deepest fears, their highest moments in their life, and who their heroes are, and that's when you see this team solidify. And so it's common for the basketball team, but just to getting to know your kids on a personal level, it is truly, in my mind, what is the most important. Each and every year I have all of my former athletes come back, and we have a Christmas party, and it's always, that's why I coach, is because of those relationships, and to see where they are now. Right now I have one of my former athletes, who just took over the school board as their president. So now she's technically my boss, which is crazy, but it's exciting. And so you get to see them and their successes. So
I love it. I think it's absolutely inspirational. You're doing a great job in your first year as the hoops coach, but you are well-versed in every other aspect. Sarah Hamilton, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to the next Coach's Corner with you. Good luck until then.
Thanks, guys.